you see the vision, then you do your work and let the universe meet you halfway.
Correct.
Yeah. Which is also the basis of your work in the what I call 3D world, right? And it's really the core of your work, this pay it forward business relationship expertise that you're developing, and that we're going to evangelize, quite frankly, because it is about the connections. You know, we have reached a point where it's no longer acceptable. I mean, the most basic things have been commoditized, but if there's a rule that can be created around something, then it can be put on a computer and sent offshore. Okay, we've got attorneys. You can go online and get attorneys. You can go online and get designers. You can shoot things out. So the world is flat. And it's very difficult to differentiate ourselves from others just based on pure product. And so people have choices. They have choices, and they're a click away from a new choice. So the question becomes, how do you survive? How do you build a business where you have customers or clients that stick? You want them to be sticky. You know, you want them to align with you. You know, I really do think that's a big key, which is knowing what's true for you so that what you're sending out attracts the right customers. But why don't we jump right into pay it forward?
I have a very good friend. His name is Dean Classman. And Dean has sold me my long-term care insurance. Dean is the female Sharon. I'm the male Dean up on the North Shore. And Dean and I have known each other, never really sat down and talked until about 3 years ago. And Dean and I met, and he was telling me about, all the connections that he has made over the years. And we get together probably every 3 months and we talk. I started selling advertising on my website about a year ago. And Dean took me to lunch, and he said, for our usual lunch, and he said, Sharon, you've never asked me to advertise on your website. Why is that? I said, Dean, you're in long-term care. I don't have the right to ask you for anything unless I've helped you in some way first. I never referred anyone to him for long-term care. And he says to me, Sharon, do you know how much you have helped me? He said, you mention me all the time in your blog. And I had to do a presentation in Kansas City for an insurance company. They didn't know what to write up about me, but they read your blog and they took exactly what you wrote, and that's how they introduced me. He says, and I've never heard anybody in my 26 years of networking say what you just said. I said, but it's true. So that's how I believe. That's my true core. I cannot ask you or anyone in my network for anything unless I've helped you in some way first. Wow. It's powerful. I didn't realize how powerful it was until he told me that in 26 years. I mean, I'm a newbie at this. I've only been really doing networking for 3 years, but he never heard anyone say that. Wouldn't this be a great world if we all were trying to help each other and didn't think about, okay, are we going to do business together or not? No. And it's all about asking pertinent questions. It's all about listening to the answers. It's all about remembering that and having some type of system to remember the things that you've asked about. And I have a system. It's called Connect. When I meet with someone, I ask them what category they're in. I ask them what organizations they're in. I ask them what their needs are, and it can be personal or professional, from nannies to roofers to an accountant, whatever they need. The next N is for what neighborhood did they grow up in. The E is what do they like to do for enjoyment. The C is what college did they go to, and the T is who's their target market. I then ask them what are their goals for the next 5 years, and when is their birthday. I have that all in my ACT software, so that if I'm making an introduction, I can then look at that information, and the person knows that it's not just someone I met at a networking group. It's someone that I sat down with and I know. And then I can make the introduction and say, I want you to meet Karen. Karen needs a landscaper, and I know you're going to do a good job. Please get in contact with each other. And if they don't do a good job, the threat of being off my database is wonderful because I make connections that stick. Is it easy to do? Sure, it's easy because you can ask questions and listen. Does it take time? Absolutely. It takes a lot of time because there's some people that you don't want in your database. There are some people that are takers. I run as far away from them as possible. They're energy vampires, and I can feel them a mile away. They zap the energy right out of you, and they just want to take your database. So you start developing that ability to sense out who's good, who you want on your database, and who you don't. Do I have thousands of people on my database? No, and I don't want 1,000 people. I don't want 1,000 people in my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is only people that I know. And I have probably about 200 connections in my database. That's it. Those are the only people that I can keep up with. I can't keep up with thousands of people. But they're my friends. I refer my friends. I consider Karen my friend. And so it's so much easier to refer someone like that.
And I think that is, it's critical for our times, the times that we live in, to begin to develop that kind of discernment around where you send your resources, both intellectual, emotional, spiritual. How are you spending your resources? Where are you giving? Where are your expectations? What are you claiming? And we don't have the luxury, really, of kind of just being all over the place anymore. But the potential is to have 1,000 plugs coming into you from all different sources, primarily because of the technology, whether it's email or voicemail or Palm Pilots or whatever. The points of contact, we're flooded on a daily basis with contacts. And it's overwhelming. People are just overwhelmed. And you know what happens? We go into zone mode. It's kind of like, I'm paralyzed. I'm not really sure. Should I be eating now? Or should I be on my way to work? Or where do I need to go? And so this idea of being very thoughtful of how you want to use your resources and who you want in that kind of referral base is critical. You have to reclaim your resources and check your priorities. What do you really want? What is really important to you? And make sure that you are checking in with them on a regular basis, because you'll look up and you'll have spun off into some area and not know how you ended up over there. Because it's very easy to become distracted today. It's very easy to find yourself pulled in many, many directions and look up and not have accomplished anything that was really part of your original intention. So this discernment, and you don't need 1,000 people. It's that 6 degrees of separation idea where one person is like a geometric, exponential for you. Because one person knows at least 50 others, right? So it's very, very powerful, and it's very, very meaningful for our lives today, because it's very easy to become distracted and off-center and overwhelmed.